busy day after this working on my third commercial release, which is called, that was weird, Twisted Tower. So we're going to work on remaking Breath of the Wild in Unity. This should be the last day of the workshop where we sort of finalize everything. We paint the terrain, we size all of our prefabs and start painting our prefabs in the terrain, add some fog, add some music. It's going to look really, really good. I wanted to say a huge thank you. Man, this is so amazing. It's just so amazing. And well, I'm really grateful, honestly. Grateful for the new students who enrolled yesterday. Jonathan M., and I think the day before as well. Brock D., Ian Moazim, Aaliyah, Zach, Jennifer Gohoon, Danik, and Lee Liang W. Welcome to Full-Time Game Dev, which is my massive program which teaches you everything I've learned in the last decade of making indie games. It is currently 50% off. You got 5 days left. Once this is over, I'm not going to have a big sale event like this for a while. Black Friday and New Year's are my biggest sales typically. Then I might do a really big one in the summer as well. But you're going to get 50% off my massive program. You're going to learn how to get publishers, right? How to get publishers to fund your games, how to get Kickstarter campaigns funded, how to hit the Steam front page, how to get the press to cover your game, right? How to actually, hit the Steam front page and get wish lists, how to market yourself, how to build a brand. But on top of all of that, obviously, you're going to learn how to make a game in Unity, Godot, or Unreal. You can pick whichever engine you want to learn. And you're also going to get my 2D art and my 3D art programs completely free. And look, if you wonder if this is BS, just take a look at the reviews here. Okay, these are reviews from real people. You can reach out to them by all means. Real people who gave this course 5 stars because, well, with the help of the course, they actually went full time, which is super duper cool. And if you're wondering about me, it's like, who's this weird YouTuber? I make games. This is my game Neversong and Pinstripe. There's the Switch copy for Pinstripe. And here's the PlayStation 4 Deluxe Edition for Neversong. Isn't that cool? And I'm working on my third commercial release called Twisted Tower. Should be done hopefully early this year. All right, you guys ready to jump inside of Unity and make this game really look like Breath of the Wild? Let me close my window really quick. Someone's honking their horn. I was about to make a joke that middle schoolers would have really enjoyed. But I'm not going to do that. I will not do that. I'm a 35-year-old man. All right, let's go. Let me put my heated blanket on. One sec. And let's go. Let's jump inside of Unity and get started. All right, you guys ready? So this is where we left off yesterday. In fact, that's right where I left the camera. What we're going to do now is we're going to size up our prefabs. Now, remember, this right here is a 2 Unity meter high block, right? Or primitive cube. I place this in my scenes all the time, so I have a good idea of relative scale. I can see the grass there and say, okay, is that a reasonable height for grass? Is this a reasonable height for a big block? Is this a reasonable height for a rune? Right? Or ruins? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and scale up all of our prefabs. Guys, it's super duper important that you get a good idea of scale when you begin making your game. I think I mentioned this yesterday, but let's erase those trees really quick. Scale and color are one of the 2 things that make your game look cohesive, and it makes your game look like it's not, well, a crappy indie game. Who is so stop it? Someone's honking their horn. Okay, here we go. All right, let's start with the trees here. Okay, there we go. All right, let's start with our trees here. I'm going to move the block over to my trees just so I can get a good idea of how high I think a tree should be. I'm going to go a little bit higher here to like 1.5. There we go. They're still freaking honking. What are you doing? 1.5. Yeah, that looks about right. What do you guys think? I'm comparing it again to the size of this primitive. And again, you can see that this primitive here is almost perfectly the size of my character controller. In fact, I think it is, because I think that character controller is hovering above the ground a little bit. Yeah. So the character controller is 2 Unity meters high. So again, we're just using this box here to give us an idea. You looked into using PSDs in Unreal, and you can use PSDs in 5.6 and up. Good. Nintendo is now monitoring the stream. Well, we talked about it yesterday, how, in my opinion, we'll see, fingers crossed, knock on wood, all the things. But my opinion is it's going to be pretty easy for indie developers to replicate the Breath of the Wild look. So my theory is Nintendo's going to try and make a really unique looking Zelda for their next one. That's my prediction. All right, let's see here. What about this one? Again, these are all the assets we're going to use in our scene, okay? Once I scale them up, size them appropriately, I'm going to make a nice little folder full of prefabs. Okay. Yeah, let's make that one a little bit bigger, 1.8. That looks pretty good. Okay. It might be a little big, but I think we're okay. That stone is probably not big enough. We're going to do, probably like that. Yeah, that's good enough. This one here, pretty giant rune here. We don't want the player to be too dwarfed by the size of everything. But, and the reason I say that is because the runes, the rocks, the runes in particular they don't dwarf Link too much. So I think it's something like that should work just fine. Okay. The bush here, let's double check. That looks pretty good. I don't have any issues with it. This right here, scale her up. And then this one here, we're going to scale it up as well. Okay. My theory is that all the assets we're looking at right here are going to be all we need. That's my theory. Let's go ahead and play and take a look here. Okay. Dun 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 dun. I know it looks like it's not a lot, guys, but once we get this terrain painted, it's gonna look pretty dang good. So the goal here is, we talked about this yesterday, but the goal is to get all of our assets, and as few as possible, honestly, our necessary assets made. And then we can go ahead and just build a scene and see if, like, okay, maybe are 6 assets enough? It's great to just build out your scene. And as you're building out your scene with limitations, what happens is you go, okay, I really do need this, or I really am going to need a bridge piece. I really do need this. Instead of trying to predict before you've even built the level all the assets you need, start with your bare minimum, and then you can add later. All right, the next step is I'm going to rename all of these, okay, to something very intuitive. I'm going to call this Cliff 2. Something really, I like really clean. I'm going to call this Grass 2. I'm going to call this, no, that's just grass. That's just one grass. We're just going to do that. Rock 1. This is rock 2. Good. This one here is a plant. Let's double check it here. That's going to be a green plant. Honestly, let's make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Plant green. Honestly, it's just a weed, isn't it? These are flowers. Make them a little bit bigger. Flowers white. These are going to be flowers purple. Make those a little bit bigger as well. Good. Rename this. I like that. It's just a simple, clean bush. And I'm going to drag all these into my prefab folder in just a second, guys. Hey there, Thomas. I hope you're well and have a blessed 2026. P.S. I started my indie studio. That's awesome. Mikey, that's awesome. Okay, archway. We're going to call this arch pillar. This one probably needs to be a little bit bigger to match that. There we go. Isn't that funny how they kind of look like they're part of the same asset class now? Or the same family? And they're totally different assets. I like it. This is arch broken. Let me text my wife really quick so she doesn't interrupt the stream. Sometimes she comes to my office. All right. Let's keep going here. What do we got here? We got rubble. We call this rubble small. We're going to call this one wall round broken. This is a rubble medium. This is tree 1. This is going to be, yeah, tree 1, tree 2, and this is going to be pine 1. Or just pine, honestly. That's all we need. This is stone. Do I really need that? I don't think I do. I don't even like that one.